stuff had calmed down. It looked like they were just going to settle into 10th, 9th, around where Everton, Burnley finish.
Yeah.
But they took the next step this season. They looked like they could seriously become like a member of the top 6 or make it a top 7. I actually do think they've dropped out of the top 6 now. I can't see Tottenham maintaining the level they've been at in the last 8 years. I think they've let their golden generation go through. They didn't get any silverware with it.
They didn't get any money for them either.
I think he's been incredible, honestly, since the restart as well. He's so exciting to watch.
Yeah.
I think he can go past almost anyone. His finishing is actually more impressive than I thought. He showed glimpses, and he was their most exciting player by far. And I think he's earned himself a starting spot, even when they bring in Werner, Ziyech, and Havertz.
It's a miracle! Oh yeah! What about that one? Unbelievable! Balotelli, Aguero! Crowd cheers. Here's Siddle. Oh, that ball is close. He's given him. He's given him. Peter Siddle's got a hat-trick on his birthday.
Welcome back to the On the Ball podcast. This is episode 57 of the show. And today I'm joined by Rhett, as you can see on YouTube. But how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, pretty well, thanks. You've been in the wars today. You've been attacked by a feral dog that you own.
Yeah, that little fucker.
But, we've come strong, and we're here. We're filming this, I think, exactly a week in advance, so it's Tuesday today. Fresh off the Champions League final, actually, but some of the stuff we might say, well, I don't know how this will be outdated, but I don't know. So just cut us some slack, right, you dogs?
Yeah.
Anyway, Champions League final was yesterday. Did you watch it? Did you watch the mini match? Or?
Yeah, I got around the mini. Oh, I actually did get up, but I was kind of like, I was still like a little bit tipsy. We had some drinks the night before, and I was just like still out of it, so didn't register it till I watched the mini match in the morning.
There was a couple nuts going around.
Yeah,
there was 4 balls on the pitch.
Yeah.
No, I watched the mini match. It looked a pretty good game, actually.
Yeah.
Especially around the halftime period. There was like a 5-minute session before halftime that looked insane.
Yeah.
And Lockie, my older brother, he watched the whole replay and he said the exact same thing. So, but no, it looked very entertaining. Surprising there was not many goals in it, but
yeah, I think just poor finishing. But
yeah,
I
and
think
also
they
great
been
goalkeeping as well. From I think Neuer stopped quite a few goals that
he
wouldn't.
And I think even Kayla made some point blank saves actually.
Yeah,
I remember 1 or 2.
So they did pretty well. Interesting to see a goalkeeper step up in a Champions League final.
Yeah. I haven't seen that for a while, boys.
I've actually got my Liverpool goalkeeper's jersey on. But yeah, that's brought to an end a pretty good season of football. And here we are going to discuss the English side of things. So we're going to be reviewing the Premier League. We might review the English clubs like continental performances, cup performance as well. But basically, we're just doing a Premier League season review. It's a bit late, but just cop.
Yeah.
It's all been a bit of a whirlwind the last month, especially in the soccer world. So I'm looking forward to next season when things go back to normal and we can do a team of the season episode, and then an episode like this, a transfer review and all that stuff. But at the moment we're a bit crammed, but we're going to review the Premier League 2019-2020 season. So in a quick recap, obviously we won, Liverpool.
Get around us.
Yeah. Let's not forget that. Champions League spots were won by Manchester City, Man United, and Chelsea. Europa League was Leicester and Tottenham, and then Arsenal won it by winning the FA Cup. Relegated was Bournemouth, sadly, Watford and Norwich. FA Cup, as I just mentioned, Arsenal beat Chelsea, and the League Cup, Man City beat Aston Villa. So that's it. Now we're going to go into our awards, or our little categories, sections of the episode. So to start us off, we're going to talk about the teams and their performances before we move on to the individual side of things. I've got quite a few things written down for each award, so we'll probably start with you most often. So which teams impressed you the most, or which team?
So for most, I think Wolves for me were the most impressive team, not because they finished that much higher than I expected, but I think the way they played was more impressive than maybe perhaps their end of season results, especially the way they improved their players. I thought Traore, Jimenez, Jota was injured for a bit, but I think they all took strides forward, and I think that the way they're being coached is pretty. It's different from the way that the rest of the mid-table clubs are being coached. Like they have more of a, they have just more of an elite style and mentality compared to. They don't have that mid-club mentality like fucking Everton, Newcastle, West Ham. They have like just this mentality, and the way they play is very passive. And I think that separates what the Wolves and Leicester particularly from the rest of the mid-table clubs, and that's the reason why they're pushing into contention and just pushing the top six clubs a lot harder. I think the way they performed in the big games against City particularly helped us out and just made everyone take them a bit more seriously this year. So yeah, I think backing up their performances from last year, I would have gone with Wolves.
Yeah, and they went pretty far in the Europa League. I think they made the quarterfinals before losing to eventual winners Sevilla.
No shame in that.
Yeah, quarterfinal of the Europa League, it's a bit of a weird stage, but when you contextualize it with the loss to Sevilla, that's a pretty good effort. I'm a bit iffy on the Europa League, as we've discussed in one of our group chats. Manchester United earned... So there's these like club rankings things that the UEFA do. Man United earned more ranking points by making the semi-finals of the Europa League than Liverpool did.
Yeah, I saw that. Like they went above us in some ranking.
Yeah.
I was like,
So
can't really take that seriously. So
not sure how that one works, but so Leicester, as you mentioned, I think they were the team that were most dogged by lockdown.
Yeah.
They were looking guaranteed Champions League team before it. They were even pushing second for most of the season. They looked better than City near around Christmas. And then, they came back from lockdown. They honestly look like a bottom 5 team. But I'm going to just forget about that. That's never happened before in a season. We've never had to break for 4 months and then come back and finish it off. So I'm just going to look at before lockdown. They were awesome. Last year, it seemed like they were just going to settle into a mid-table side after all the premiership winning stuff had calmed down. It looked like they were just going to settle into 10th, 9th, around where Everton, Burnley finish.
Yeah.
But they took the next step this season. They looked like they could seriously become like a member of the top 6 or make it a top 7 with obviously the big 6 clubs, or I guess you could say big 8 now with Wolverhampton or whatever. But they went from 9th in the previous season and they finished 5th this year. But as I mentioned, they were pushing second for 70% of the season. They only came down to 5th, I think, in the last 2 game weeks. They won 10 more points, which is pretty handy. And they only had a transfer loss of 15 mil, which compared to the other teams, I think that was like the 4th best economically, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think only 2 teams had a smaller loss than that, and then Chelsea obviously had a profit because they couldn't buy anyone. So I think that was pretty impressive. They're really smart with their money. They bought Tielemans, who I think was a pretty good signing. Even Ayoze Perez, everyone was a bit skeptical of that beforehand, but he ended up making a pretty solid front 3 with Jamie Vardy and Maddison. And today they actually, might talk about this a bit later, but they actually re-signed Maddison on a 4-year deal, which is pretty amazing stuff because he is a top echelon attacking midfielder. Have you got any other teams you want to bring up?
I think obviously Sheffield have to.
Yeah, I think that's the obvious one that needs to be brought up.
They did fall away in the last, like same as Leicester. I think they were pushing the top 6 or 7 for most of the season. And I think everyone was expecting they'd fall off. And to their credit, they held on for the majority of the season. They didn't finish. They had 3 losses in their last 5, but they held on like pretty impressively, I reckon, to have a even goal difference and show the like unique brand of football that they played with the overlapping centre backs. Just some crazy shit that they were pulling off. But yeah, it was pretty impressive.
Pretty crazy. I think that might be 2 years in a row now. I don't know when Wolves were promoted. It might have been 3 years ago, but it's becoming a bit of a regular occurrence that a promoted team comes up and just beats it, and then the other two like struggle.
And I think everyone's expecting Leeds to do that next year. I'm not sure if they will, but people are expecting it.
Yeah. But yeah, they came ninth, which in itself is an insane feat. They were only 5 points off the Europa League, and as you mentioned, for most of the season they were in Europa League spots. Yeah. One thing I guess you could say against them, they did have a transfer loss of near 70 mil, but most teams average around that. Yeah, exactly.
They're going to make so much money.
Yeah, it's more stupid to splash out than do what Norwich did and just come up and like not let the manager spend anything. So,
yeah, I think everyone tipped them to be like the guaranteed team to go down as well. Like they were expecting more out of Norwich and Villa, and those two teams were fucking disgraceful. So yeah.
Chelsea as well. I think everyone was predicting them to really slip away this year with the transfer ban. Obviously, Frank Lampard came in first year of management in the top flight, but they come fourth. They only actually won 6 points less than last season, and that's with the transfer ban. And I really do think this season's actually set up Chelsea for a dynasty in the next 5 years. They might not win it next this coming season. I think they're still maybe 1 or 2 years off, but I think in the near future they're going to be a dominant powerhouse once again, like they were in the early 2010s. After Fergie retired and stuff like that.
It feels like they're playing FIFA at the moment. Honestly, the way they're signing players, it's an absolute joke, man. They've just hostile.
Did you know they sold Morata for 56 mil? So, because I think they loaned him out last season, and then they bought him for 56, and they only bought Werner for 53. So they actually made a profit on essentially for them a Werner Morata swap deal, which is probably the silliest.
How much did they pay? They must have paid a lot for Morata initially.
Yeah. I don't know exactly, but they would have paid quite a bit. But yeah, that's pretty handy business, and they made a profit overall of 112 mil.
Last season,
So although it should have hurt them in the short term in terms of the season just gone, it didn't. And now it's actually probably going to be setting them up for the next 5 years. As you said, they're already making some crazy signings, and they're probably the most exciting team right now in the Premier League in terms of their squad list. Other two teams I want to mention, Burnley and Southampton.
Mm-hmm.
It looked in the 2018-19 season that the magic had kind of rubbed off those teams. They were just outside the relegation places. I think Southampton actually did pretty well not to get relegated that year, but Burnley were a little bit off it, but still. After being two consistently mid-table sides for 3 or 4 years. So everyone thought Sean Dyer should, stop his magic. They thought Southampton had stopped producing players, and then this year they kind of bounced back to their normal mid-table standards. They both improved 5 spots, both improved around 15 points. Burnley did it with a transfer loss of only 5 mil, so standard Burnley style, really. Southampton had a transfer loss of 30 mil, but they had some really good business in there, including Danny Ings, which I'll get onto in a second. But yeah, there's quite a lot of teams who impressed me this year, to be honest. And then on the other side of that coin, teams that disappointed us. Who are you most disappointed with?
I think for sure Bournemouth. I thought they had too much talent to go down, but the way some of those guys were playing at the end of the season was kind of horrific. I think Eddie Howe's his magic, I guess his influence is kind of wearing off. I think people have found out their style over the last 4. I'm surprised, honestly, they've played the same style for the last, since they've been promoted into the Premier League. They're dynamic breakaway. They just haven't been able to evolve really, and I think that happens when you have the same manager for at least 10, 15 years, 10 years maybe they might have had him at least.
Yeah,
bringing them up, and I think they're they couldn't really sack him. I don't think it wouldn't have been fair. But also, I think they're not sacking him is what's cost them in the end as well. So I feel like it was a bit of an impossible position for Bournemouth. Like, how do you sack someone who's basically given them everything, like the amount that he's given to that club in terms of building them from nothing to a well-respected like first division club, I think. Yeah.
It's a tough one. It's always a tough one with like those mid-table teams, I think, because there was probably a period there where I think Tottenham were interested in him, and they were, like in 2016 or something, and he probably should have gone then. I know that wouldn't have been Bournemouth's decision; it would have been his at the time. But Bournemouth kind of just stayed constant for too long. They didn't improve anything. They didn't have huge financial investment. As you said, they didn't change their tactics.
They haven't changed their players, anything.
Yeah, eventually the game just leapfrogged them.
Yeah.
And that has seen them, unfortunately, spat out into the championship. And if I'm honest, they're not the biggest club. I think their stadium only holds like 13,000 people. They don't have the biggest financial backing. So I think it might be a fairly long stay again in the lower divisions. Well, not the championship.
Depends. Yeah, I feel division, but I feel like it depends how many of their players they can hold on to, because I don't think if they do let them go, they're not in a very strong position to hold on to them. If a club comes in for a Wilson or I don't really rate King that highly, honestly, but a few of their other players, I don't know if they're in much of a position to really stop them, and I don't think they're going to get as much for them because everyone knows they're going to need money just to keep going. So
I forgot to mention that, but like obviously in terms of a mid-table team, you've got to be smart. Like Leicester were really smart. After they won, they started flipping people and making profits on them.
Yeah,
where Bournemouth, they could have sold King for 50 mil. They could have sold Cal Wilson for 40, and they just never did that. They could have sold Fraser for, I don't know, like almost even like 60 or 70 at one point when he was like the leading assister in the Prem at Christmas time, I think 2 seasons ago. But
they really missed the trick on King. I'm not King, sorry, Wilson. When Chelsea wanted him,
too stubborn.
Last season, maybe they should have just pulled the trigger and just developed a new style, a new couple of signings. But
and then they started making some average signings. Like they brought in Solanke, they brought in Jordan Ibe.
Solanke sucks, honestly.
Yeah, so
I think he scored his first Premier League goal.
It hurts, but who knows? I hope they bounce back. I really like Bournemouth as a club. I like the attacking footy they played. Even we saw in one of the last rounds against Man United, they were always up for a shootout. I think Ake's been bought for 45. Ramsdale, the goalkeeper, got bought for 25. So
where did Ramsdale go?
He went to Sheffield to replace Henderson. So they are going to recoup some funds, but it will just be interesting to see how they use it. But yeah. And then other teams that disappointed us. Anyone else you want to mention, or do you want me just to rattle through my list?
I reckon West Ham probably on your list.
Yeah.
But I think to keep them up in the end, they relied on some Mikel Antonio just coming up big for them, which I don't know if you can rely on that next season. It's just he's just not a reliable source of goals, in my opinion. A bloke who half the time plays right back, half the time plays on the wing. Now he plays up front. Like, he just bullies people to get goals, but I don't think he can rely on that for very long. People are just going to find him out.
It was like when they relied on Andy Carroll, and then he got injured, and then all of a sudden they just became crap.
He's going to go through periods where he just can't shoot, because honestly, I don't think he's very gifted technically. I just don't think they can rely on him next season. So they got to do some serious digging. They always make the weirdest striker signings, like Zaza, Perez, just some strange footy players just get up front in the number 9 position for West Ham.
It was really disappointing though, because this year I thought they made some good signings.
I thought Fornals would come.
Fornals, Haller, not that they were bad, those two.
Yeah.
But I remember when we were talking pre-season, we were talking about Everton's signings. We were talking about how Wolves are going to be great, Leicester's going to be great. We thought like there was going to be genuinely 10 teams that were going to be like awesome, and West Ham just didn't join that pack.
No.
They actually got worse from last year. They dropped 6 spots, dropped 13 points, and at the end of the day, they had a transfer loss of around 70 mil. So not good footy for them.
No.
Someone else who I mentioned, Everton. As I just said before, they were probably expected to be up there with your Wolves, your Leicesters, but they were a long way off it. They went backwards 4 spots. Some of their signings did not come off, Keane and Iwobi in particular, which also we might talk about later.
Yeah.
Then the other teams who disappointed me, Watford, like realistically on paper, they were probably one of the least talented in the Prem, but they did finish 12th last year. So for them to be relegated this year, that's a huge drop off.
And they did make Sarr was a pretty sizable signing as well for them.
30 mil, I think.
And I think he actually showed some signs, but
not consistent enough.
Exactly.
And then the big boys, Man City, they had a 17-point deficit on last season, and they once again failed in the Champions League.
Just remind me about
I think they were pretty disappointing. Although, like, some people might have expected Liverpool to win this year or whatever, 17-point gap, that's pretty huge. And they had, as always, they had a bloody transfer loss of 98 million, whereas Liverpool only had a transfer loss of like 5. So get Alfred there, fellas.
And they're about to spend another 150 this summer. So
yeah. And then Tottenham and Arsenal. Both Arsenal, I don't know, their club looks kind of exciting because they've got quite a few youngsters there, but at the end of the day, they did have a 14-point deficit on last year. They had a transfer loss of 106 mil. They went backwards 3 spots. They only scavenged to get 8th. At one point, they looked like they were going to come 12th or 11th. They did win the FA Cup, though, so they finished the season on a high, which got them into the Europa League, but we'll see how they go. And then Tottenham. I really think Tottenham are probably the number one team that disappointed me. If you forget about all the stats, they only went back 2 spots, but I actually do think they've dropped out of the top 6 now. I can't see Tottenham maintaining the level they've been at in the last 8 years. I think they've let their golden generation go through. They didn't get any silverware with it.
They didn't get any money for them either.
Yeah, exactly. They sacked Poch, who is probably a top 3 manager in the world. And now they're stuck with huge stadium debt, a manager who's past his prime, and a bit of a Boris list. So I don't think there's too many positives at Tottenham right now, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I don't see them.
Which is frustrating because they were one of the most exciting teams in the league 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it looks like they've kind of bottled it. And it's a bit sad, but I don't really care if Leicester replace them in the top 6.
No.
But yeah, so we've pretty much gone through every team there. I guess with a table versus table comparison, it's kind of easy to see who went backwards or forwards. But yeah. All right, that moves us into the player awards. We'll start with our transfers. So who do you think was the best signing of the year?
I think it has to be Danny Ings. Has to. I think if someone comes into your club, scores 22 goals, 2 assists, and just he carried them basically. They only scored 51 goals.
Yeah.
And he scored 22, or he contributed to 24 of them. And he was just, I don't know, he was just a new man, mate. He was just on fire. The way he was, I looked at his stats, and his shots and shots on target per 90 were the same as last season. But he was just 3 times more efficient than he was last season. So 3 times more goals per shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or 3 times less shots per goal. However you want it.
Got his mojo back.
Yeah, it really shows that like strikers, it's all about confidence or mental for them.
Yeah.
I think we saw the same thing with guys like Morata. I think the way they dip and then go up, it's just like you've got to be able to if you believe in that player, you got to keep going with them until they hit their form, and I think they'll pay you back for that. I think that's what Southampton did. They saw that he clearly has talent, he can clearly finish, and he really did pay them back. So, I mean, I'm happy for him, honestly. He got out of Liverpool and done the best with it, so good on him.
First time he's had 10 plus goals in a season since 2014-15. First time he's ever scored more than 10 goals in the Premier League. Actually, I think he scored 11 one year, but yeah. Last time he scored close to this amount was in the Championship in like 2013. I think he scored like 15 or something.
I think it was 21, but still less than this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the most he's ever scored in a league season, which I thought was pretty impressive.
Yeah. And that's in the Prem, where the Championship they have like 46 games and stuff, and it's obviously worse. So that's pretty crazy from Danny Ings. It was only 22 million as well. So although for a 28-year-old, that's like pretty expensive on the exterior. Once you've looked at this season, you see that as a bargain now.
Yeah, without him, I think there would have been a relegation fight, so he would have made them a lot of money, to be fair.
Yeah, I think if he was to stop playing now, I think a 22-goal season is worth 22 mil, even if it's just one season alone. But obviously, he's going to keep offering them the goods. And I think they really needed it as well. Although I did say Southampton looked to get their mojo back this year, I do think they wouldn't have been that far off relegation if it wasn't for his goal scoring prowess. Because Che Adams was a bit of a flop.
Yeah, except for that halfway goal.
Yeah, he really struggled to get on the score sheet early on. And then, well, their defence and midfield was all right. But yeah, Danny Ings carried the fellas. But yeah, not much else to really say about him. I'm glad he did really well. I'm a Liverpool fan, but I really don't like when the big clubs buy the smaller teams' best players and just stick them on the bench. I know he was injured a lot, but even if he was fit, he wouldn't have played. I don't really rate that when the big teams do that. I'd rather the player go and dominate somewhere. So it was really awesome to see, and especially I'm sure it was like huge for like his mental health after 3 years of just being permanently injured.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's huge for him.
Good on you.
I've got 3 more I want to mention. Is there anyone else you are going to talk about, or
I think
because I don't want to steal your thunder?
I didn't really have anyone else to too much talk about, but I thought Lo Celso, he tried.
Yeah,
he showed why everyone was why everyone was interested in. But he actually, in a Tottenham team that sucked, he actually did show that he's still a quality player.
Yeah,
and like I think it sucks for him that he's going to be stuck there for a few years, because I don't think they're going to want to sell him. They just paid.
I don't think they paid too much as well at the end of the day, which is pretty handy.
It was good business by them, but if they're not going to put the pieces around him or a manager around him that can get the best out of him, I think it's going to. I don't really see his career going where it could have. I think his career, like, it was a crossroads where he went, and I think he got the rough end of the stick, but you never know.
Yeah, best signing. I'm actually going Alan St. Maximin. 23-year-old left winger. He only had 7 goal involvements in 26 appearances, but that's still pretty handy. 17th in goals in total. However, we do have to take into account Newcastle are pretty average, especially in attack.
Mm-hmm.
So all those stats are going to be low compared to someone in like a top 8, top 10 team.
Yeah.
He won 3 man of the matches. But this is his main thing, all right? 4.7 dribbles a game. That's the second most in the Prem, behind only the one Adama. I think Messi, he had just over 5, or maybe exactly 5, so he's right up there with the great man.
Yeah.
He also had 1.3 key passes a game, which is pretty handy. And probably the biggest thing about him is it was only 18 mil. So someone who was highly touted, everyone was excited about the signing fit to be a fairly low fee. I think that was a pretty great bit of business there from Newcastle, who we might talk about later, also did some average business, so kind of evened out.
And I think it's good for them as well, because he's one player who actually brings some excitement to that club.
Yeah, it's like Payet at West Ham.
Yeah, it's like they are known for being one of the most boring sides to watch. Honestly, like I would hate to watch them. I hated to watch them before. Now at least they give him the ball and he tries to he gets people at least halfway off the edge of their seat. But
yeah, I do think that's really important for the clubs outside
sure.
the top positions. Like, I do think that was also a reason why Palace were pretty stubborn in terms of the Zaha deals.
Yeah.
He did that for Palace. He made them interesting to watch.
You got to have someone who's like the face of the club, something that draws the fans in. Otherwise, there's like the toxicity at clubs like Newcastle is always high. They're always like fucking complaining about the.
Yeah, he was honestly he's so good to watch. I think he's the most exciting player to watch they've had since like Ben Arfa or like Cisse or something. But he's awesome. He's brought it back to Newcastle. Then other two guys, they were pretty expensive, but Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Christian Pulisic.
The
Pulisic
one
was bought last Christmas, but I'm counting him in this one because he got loaned back.
Mm-hmm.
Wan-Bissaka, 55 mil, so that's a fair, good old chunk. 22-year-old though, so he's got a lot of time at the club. Could be there for 10 years. Right back, 3 man of the matches. He had the third most tackles in the Premier League, which didn't drop from last year, which is a huge shock because he went from Palace to Man U, so you would think he would get, less dominated, but, it is Man United, so maybe, maybe they deep down were getting more bummed, but you would expect his tackles to go down, so that's pretty impressive. It didn't. And then in total, he had 5.6 tackles and interceptions, which only dropped 0.5 from last year, which I think there's no tackle and interception combined stat that I could find, but I'm pretty sure that'd have him like around 5th or something.
Yeah.
In that top 5 anyway. Sure. And in one of the top, 4 teams, that's pretty good because usually those stats are dominated by the guys in the relegated sides. So that's pretty awesome footy from him. I have to say though, I have heard a lot of people, I can't lie, actually, this is probably the least I've watched the Premier League since like for a while, because this year I decided to actually prioritize my sleep over the soccer. So any game past like 2:00, I was like, nah, I'm not watching that. Gotta keep sane. So I can't lie, I didn't see too much of him. But I heard a lot of people saying he gets bulk tackles just because he turns the ball over all the time and then just wins it back. And it's just like a cycle. I don't care. I'm taking the stats the way they are.
I think it's everyone talks about, like Trent doesn't position himself well. I don't think Wan-Bissaka's positioning is all that special either. The thing he has over Trent is his recovery speed.
Yeah.
And his actual ability to tackle is a lot higher than Trent's, to be fair. So I think he's sometimes caught out of position, and but it's all right for him because his recovery speed is like first class, world class, however you want to say it.
And he doesn't offer much in attack, which compared to Trent is clearly the huge downfall to him.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in that team, they don't need an attacking fullback because their front 6 are all like strikers. So they do need some people who are solely defenders, even if that means they can't attack. Because they're trying to fit 3 strikers into one team and then 2 cams. So somewhere the balance has got to be tipped, the scales are going to be tipped the other way, and Wan-Bissaka does that for the boys. Then next, we're looking at Pulisic, 64 mil. As I said, he was last Christmas, but he got loaned back to Dortmund, so he was new to Chelsea this season. 21 years old, left winger, 4 man in the matches in only 19 starts, 13 goal involvements in 25 appearances, so pretty much one every second. 2.2 dribbles, 1.2 key passes, and 2.5 shots, which are all pretty good. Nothing like crazy in there. They wouldn't be like top 10 stats, but all pretty handy. You would have him sitting around 20th. So yeah, do you think Pulisic was a good signing? Or
I think he's been incredible, honestly, since the restart as well. He's so exciting to watch.
Yeah,
I think he can go past almost anyone. His finishing is actually more impressive than I thought. He showed glimpses, and then he scored a hat trick, I think, didn't he? He just took over a couple of games.
I think so, yeah,
I'm pretty sure
when he got injured in the FA Cup, I just freaking lost interest.
Yeah,
I was just like,
he was their most exciting player by far, and I think he's earned himself a starting spot, even when they bring in Werner, Ziyech, and Havertz. I think he's going to play off the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Despite when those guys come, I think Ziyech will play predominantly off the right, and then Werner and Havertz more down the middle. So I think,
Yeah, good luck to Lampard trying to pick that team.
yeah,
That is
honestly,
such an average job.
yeah, I think
It's
they've
like
they've
8
got too many
blokes who are,
assets.
yeah, they've got 8 blokes. I can't lie, like they're great signings, but you have to question like why have you just? It's like Arsenal, like why do you keep signing blokes in the positions you're set in? Because like now Mount and Abraham, they're probably going to struggle to get
Yeah,
gigs.
I was like, honestly, like I understand if Havertz is there, you go and get him because he's just that good. But come on, man, that's kind of overkill. Like, give the other blokes a chance.
Yeah. The only thing I guess you can argue is, yeah, Abraham and Mount have been impressive this year, but are they going to be the striker and cam for your team that wins, 3 or 4 Premier Leagues over the next decade?
Yeah,
Like, I think that's the question you got to ask yourself. They're obviously quality, but are they that good? Which I think
yeah.
would be up for debate.
I think we're like our hopes for Chelsea are not as high as their own. Clearly, like
Yeah.
they're thinking we want to be dominant, we want to be the best in the world, and if you want to be the best in the world, you have to have the best players. So I think
Yeah.
I don't see Mount or Abraham ever being the best in the world, but I think
Yeah.
Havertz, Werner,
Yeah, they
definitely
could
could. Yeah.
be. Yeah.
It's
So
just
I think those two I think those two signings, although they were quite hefty fees, I think they were pretty impressive, and obviously both young as Saint Maximan is. But yeah, and then in terms of worst signings, I've attacked this in 2 different ways. So I've got a few for worst in terms of like shocking business, and then I've got a few for just like most disappointing as a fan. That
Yeah.
people I was excited to see, and then they've not really hit the mark. But who are you bringing up here?
Mine's more on the second thing that you mentioned. Like I was really excited to see this player, and I think that he just didn't get used in the way that he should have. I've gone with Ndombele.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
one of my choices.
only 12 starts. I think he must have been. He was injured, I think, but still to get only 12 starts, and I think for part of the season, Winks was starting ahead of him. Dyer, two of my least favorite players in the Premier League. Like I'm talking.
Don't get him started on
I'm
Winks.
talking. Oh my god, he's the biggest nothing player like in the Premier League. He just passes sideways. Anyway,
We can all pass it to the right back.
yeah, honestly, he fucking
I
sucks.
could do it.
He sucks. Oh my god. Anyway, yeah. So Ndombele, his shots went down, pass completion, aerial duels, tackle success, all went down from a pretty impressive last season in Lyon. But I think even all those stats go down, they'll all be ahead of Winks and Dyer. So I don't know why Mourinho. I think it was obviously because of the injury at times, but yeah, I was so excited to see him and Lo Celso work together with Ali as well, but it just didn't happen for him. And I think he should give it another season and see what if they can work it out. But yeah, I was really disappointed.
Yeah, over 100 mil. I think maybe just short
Just
of 100
under, maybe.
combined for
Yeah.
Ndombele and Lo Celso, and they weren't even like guaranteed starters, which is pretty weird footy, especially from a financially like skimpy club like Tottenham who
Yeah.
like to save their pennies. It's pretty weird footy. But yeah, I guess he is only 23, but 60 mil is a lot for only 12 starts.
Yeah,
So
sure.
for Tottenham's sake, they better hope they start getting the best out of him, because yeah, right now it's looking like one of the biggest flops of. Just another reason why I do think they're gonna fall back to the mid-table when they're blowing cash like that and not getting much from it. Also, another one with Tottenham. This is in my second section, so the disappointing one. Ryan Sessegnon, only 4 starts in the whole season. And he was probably one of the most hyped players before this season. Like everyone wanted to know where he was going to go. He ended up going for 27 mil. He's only 20 years old. I think he's born the same year as us. So by no means is it a bad transfer yet, but it was just disappointing to not really see him get played that much or hit the ground running.
Yeah.
So yeah, similar reasons to Ndombele.
I think he particularly struggled with going from left wing back to left back, because I think in his last season at where was it? Fulham. He was playing on the wing and he was scoring goals and providing assists, but I think they were always seeing him going back to left back, and he kind of struggled. Yeah, but I still would like to see him ahead of Davies, because another absolutely shocking player. hate him.
Yeah. And then I'll just round off this category. The other two guys I was disappointed to not see bum it. Moise Keane,
Yeah.
big fan of the On the Ball podcast. We're huge
Yeah.
on Moise Keane. We were that keen. Well, not pardon the pun, but we were that keen to see him come to the Prem. We were going to get to see him week in, week out. And he started bloody 6 matches. Come on, boys. He came off the bench 26 times, I think.
Yeah.
Lads, just get him on the pitch. 27 mil. So what I'm thinking is maybe they've thought, all right, Richarlison, he's going to leave soon. He's too good for this shithole. We'll get Keane in. Once Richarlison goes, Keane can play every game. But then what they didn't factor into that is Calvert-Lewin decided to become a beast. He decided to become one of the best strikers in the Prem.
Yeah. Just going tackles for fun.
Keane just had to just cop the last 20 of each game. And I don't know, he's probably not the kind of guy who's going to make impacts off the bench. He's not like your Chicharitos, your Ole Gunnar Solskjaers back in the day. Like, he's a big, bulky, strong lad. It'd be like bringing Lukaku off the bench. Like, he's not going to do much for you in like a 20-minute period, even if it's against tired players. So he is only 20, like Sessegnon, so it's not end of the day for this deal. And 27 mil, although that's a lot in the current climate of the Premier League, it's not even too bad. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a steal of a transfer at the time. His transfer market value was seen to be 40 mil. They bought him from Juve. If you didn't know, he'd made his debut for Italy, and yeah, he just really struggled to beat Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin for starts. And
Yeah,
it just wasn't for him.
I think also he isn't used to having to go and make his own goals, if you know what I mean. Like, he's more of a, like the way Richarlison plays, he can go past a player. He's more versatile. And even Calvert-Lewin, he's not as versatile, but he provides so much in defending from the front. He presses really hard. He bullies defenders. And I think he's used to having players like Pjanic, Dybala.
Yeah.
Who else? I don't know, but he went from being the guy who his job was just to be on the end of the goal, which he was unbelievable at.
Yeah.
To, I think, people expecting much more of him. And I think maybe if he shows that he can do a bit more than just put it in the back of the net, he might get more of a chance at a team like Everton, who rely on their defending from the front and attacking players to just create a bit more for themselves. But
and I think after a while he started putting a bit of pressure on himself.
Mm-hmm.
He started to miss some pretty clear-cut chances, which we wouldn't associate him when he was at Juventus. He went from 6 goals in 536 minutes to 2 goals in nearly 900 minutes. So, not ideal for Moise Keane. But there's obviously heaps of time. He's only 20. Another guy who we were very keen on was Pablo Fornals. One of these guys that Football Daily loved. Just statistically awesome player, really exciting to watch. 28 million, went to West Ham, looked like a really good bit of business. Started 24 times, so it's not like these other 3. He did get on the pitch, but he just didn't really light it up like I was expecting.
Yeah.
We maybe expected a little bit too much at the end of the day. He did go to West Ham. I think he was playing for Villarreal before, so the pedigree wasn't really there, but it was just hard to not get toey about the stats. But yeah, his shots per game went from 1.7 to 1. His key passes went from 1.3 to 0.5. And his dribbles a game went from 1.1 to 0.4. So some pretty drastic drop-offs in the key areas of a center attacking midfielder, edge midfielder, not ideal. The rest of his stats, they weren't too dissimilar, but yeah, he just didn't light it up like I was expecting.
Yeah.
But yeah, once again, only 24. West Ham didn't get relegated somehow, so he's going to be there again next year.
Get some players around him, get some pieces.
Yeah. And then in terms of the other section, just really bad business. We'll kick it off with Joelinton. I don't actually think, apart from goals, I don't think he was too bad. He got bulk aerial dual wins. He actually defended pretty decently for a striker, but he only had 1.3 shots a game and he had 4 goals.
And he missed some sodas.
4 goals or 4 goal involvements in 38 appearances. But yeah, that's either way, that's horrible. horrible.
Yeah. And he got into good positions and
Worst signing, 44 mil for a guy not many people had even heard of. He's 24, so he's got a bit of like upside. But yeah, he only scored 7 goals in 28 appearances in last season's Bundesliga, so I don't really know why they slapped the big 44 mil on him. It just kind of backfired. But yeah, I guess St. Maximin, they had one hit, one miss, so I guess that balances out for them. It's all right.
it just
They did
sucks
all
that
right.
their miss was 44 million, the
Yeah,
most they've ever
not-
shelled out on a player. So
yeah, they would have probably liked it the other way. And then the other two are Everton players. Everton getting a big mention. Iwobi and Andre Gomez. I think both of them were just pretty average business calls, really. Iwobi, they bought him for 30.4 mil, which in its already that's red flags. That's quite a lot for a guy who really struggled to nail down a spot in Arsenal's team, even when they were at their lowest.
yeah,
He had 19 starts, not bad. He's 24 though, so he should be getting into his prime now. He went from 6 assists to 0. He had 1 goal involvement in 1,600 minutes.
yikes.
He started most of the season, but in the end, he kind of got kicked out by Theo Walcott and Bernard, which is a bit weird. Apart from the goal involvements, the other stats didn't really drop off. But yeah, just not a great signing there. And then Andre Gomez. This could be a bit harsh, but I think
I
he
thought that was
seriously struggled with Idrissa Gana Gueye leaving.
Yeah,
I think that dynamic was awesome. You had like the breaker. It was a bit like Drinkwater and Kante, actually. You had the breakdown, the person who broke it down, and then the person who distributed. And then Gomez just looked to really struggle without the breaker down.
did he break his leg this year?
I don't think so because he had 17 starts. Maybe he broke it halfway or something. But
Yeah, I can't remember if that was this year.
no, I reckon that was a while ago. I don't know though. 25 mil from Barca. They loaned him last year. He's 27 as well, so he's not too young.
Yeah,
He's probably only got a couple more years of his prime, if
yeah,
that. His shots per game went from 0.8 to 0.3, so that's probably just an indicator of where his position in the field went. So I think they would have taken him from more number 8 and brought him back to like the base midfield, which did not suit his game. His tackles and interceptions dropped, which you would have thought would increase with that positional change. His clearances dropped. He got dribbled past 1.1 more times on average, which is pretty significant.
yeah.
He had less dribbles completed a game. Key passes was like the only stat that improved, but it was by like 0.1. So yeah, he just seemed to fall off a little bit after a pretty good season last year.
Yeah.
But I think that's more just by virtue of being in that Everton midfield. I think their whole midfield, they couldn't find a perfect combination. They tried like Davies and Gomez, tried Schneiderlin, tried Delph. Like they tried so many people, and they couldn't really find a combination that replicated Gay and Gomez. So they might be living to regret letting Gay go, but who knows?
Yeah. It was, to be fair, it was this season that he broke his leg. But yeah, I think they need I think the main thing is that they need to sort out who they're going to play alongside him, because they were playing Sigurdsson alongside him at times.
Yeah. I think Tom Davies is their man. I think they just need to teach him to be a hard nut, and he can just go next to Gomez, and they just don't let Tom Davies pass it, and they might be able to work out something there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, to be fair, Delph, I'm surprised he didn't thrive in that position because he's a bit of a hard nut.
Yeah, I think he's also injury prone.
He's a bit of a loose unit, but
yeah,
he didn't really nail that position down. But yeah, I guess if he broke his leg, then that's pretty stiff because he would have racked up way more starts. I did forget about that, to be honest.
Yeah,
that was like
it was like so long ago. It was like November last year, mate. It's almost a year ago.
Yeah. All right, so that's it for the transfers. Now we're looking at people who actually deserve transfers.
Yeah.
Who are you heading off this?
I think
with?
Two pretty. Oh, so this is not relegated players who should get moved.
Yeah.
First, I've gone with Nick Pope.
Ooh.
I think he was pretty impressive. I think he came back after a while. I'm not sure if he played the entire season, but I really like him. To be fair,
I think they might have started with Heaton at the start.
yeah, but I think in the second half of the season he was particularly impressive compared to Heaton, and I think their defense was not. It hasn't been as impressive as the last few years, and I think he put in some pretty good performances amongst other keepers this season. I think Ramsdale did deserve his move as well. He made a lot of saves at Bournemouth, and obviously Henderson as well, who got his returning from loan and staying at United. It looks like so. I think all those goalkeepers were pretty impressive.
Yeah,
and the other players who I've put down for a move, these are not necessarily because they were impressive or played well, but I think it's just time for them to find a better fit. And I've gone with Cancelo because I think he's at an age where he can't really wait for Walker to age out, and he's just not suited to left back because the way he played at Juventus was to bomb down and then use his dribbling ability to get into the box or put in a cross or whatever it might be, and you just can't do that. He's just way too predictable on the left-hand side. So I think Cancelo, because I really like the way he played at Juventus, so I hope he gets a move somewhere. And a bit of a left field one, but I think Lacazette I think it'd be good for him and his career if he found a different place to apply his trade, because I think Aubameyang is like the heartbeat. Like, he's their talisman. He's the hero for them, and I think he's never going to be able to displace him for any significant amount of time, and he's just not as good off the left. Oh, he does play down the middle when they play together, but I think they like to play Aubameyang up front. So he just doesn't get the minutes and the consistency that he needs, because I think he's world class. Like, his finishing ability, some of the goals he scores and the finishing that he produces is like pretty insane. So I hope he gets a move because I like the way he plays. So,
can you think of any potential suitors for Lacazette on the spot?
I think maybe if Inter let go of Lautaro Martinez, maybe he could play with, because they play more of a 2 up front with the 3-5-2. So maybe he could work with Lukaku.
Everyone's got like old strikers.
Yeah,
So
even like Juventus, but Ronaldo is going to be there.
Lacazette's not that young, so it'd be kind of weird to replace it, like Barca. And
even if he went back, didn't he come from Lyon?
I think he went through Atletico, but I don't know if he played there at all. But yeah, he's
I think
from
Lyon. Yeah, he could go back there. I don't know if he thinks that's too far of a step down, but honestly, they're playing Champions League football and Arsenal aren't. So
he should go to Mönchengladbach and play with the boys. Turan player.
Yeah, just have a 3 striker set up, mate.
Yeah, no, he's a tough one because he's at a difficult age, but I'm sure there's a suitor who can find him where he can play.
Yeah, it's also how much they want to get for him. But
exactly.
Who have you gone with?
Well, I've got a long list, but I won't go through them because we're starting to get on in time. James Maddison, he was my main guy, but I'm not going to talk about him because he re-signed a contract today. So he's clearly a coward. Adama Traore. The thing is, do you class Wolves and Leicester as big clubs now? Because
I just think Traore fits so well there, and I think if he went to another club,
it would be a flop.
Yeah, I think he has the potential, and they want so much for him. I think he's gone beyond the level anyone thought he'd be, and I think he should just be happy with that. He should just sit there and cop it.
His stats are insane.
He
had 5 dribbles per game, but because he came off the bench so much, if you adjust it per 90, he goes to 6.3, which is 0.6 more than Lionel Messi, who's like the greatest dribbler of all time.
Yeah.
In terms of, he had 5 per game in the Prem. Only 3 people had more than 3 per game. So that just shows, the other 2 being Zaha and Saint Maximin. So that just shows how crazy that is. 6 man of the matches, which was 4th in the Prem behind KDB, Mane, and Rashford. And once again, he didn't start nearly as many games as those 3 dudes. And yeah, pretty silly stuff. 9 assists.
I had 7.49 who scored rating, which was I think top 3 maybe.
Yeah,
I think he might have been 3rd in the Prem behind De Bruyne and someone else. So that was pretty insane.
Other guys, Jack Grealish, get yourself out of that shithole, mate. Come on. We know you're a hero of the club, but just Jesus Christ, they've almost gone down. To be honest, he doesn't even deserve a move. They they need to get rid of him. I know it'll be instant relegation, but if they went down this year, he would have been looking at like a 15 mil price tag.
Yeah,
probably a bit more, but because he's English, but he just does everything for Aston Villa. He's 24, plays left wing, but as I said, he plays everywhere. 14 goal involvements in 36 appearances. He was Villa's top scorer and top assister. And he also got dogged of 2 assists, expected assists, because his team sucks. 4 man of the matches. He had a higher passing accuracy than both James Maddison and Thomas Muller. He had more dribbles. He had 0.5 more dribbles than James Maddison, 1.5 more dribbles than Thomas Muller. So they're like 2 guys who are probably the best in that position. I know Muller's a bit different. He's more like a assist machine. But so Jack Grealish deserves a move. Wilfred Ndidi is another tough one. Leicester, his level. I disagree. I think United, hop on it, baby.
I think United would be OP if they got him. Like, honestly, they'd be
They
broken.
need someone to balance that midfield. Like, Matic ain't doing it for you boys. He's 40.
No, that'd actually be good though. So I don't want that shit to happen.
He actually should go somewhere. Maybe even Arsenal.
Maybe even Madrid, mate. Fucking just go big, mate. Just go.
The only thing with Leicester, they're such dogs because they're rich. They just say, "Give us 100 or nothing," like they did with Mahrez. I think you'd have to pay 80 to get Ndidi out.
Honestly, he would. I don't think a team like
right now, I think he'd be worth it at 23. But if you wait a couple seasons, then
Jesus, he's only 23.
It feels like
Madrid. Just get on him, mate. Just get on him.
Could replace Casemiro. 4 man of the matches in a pretty, as we mentioned, one of the most impressive teams all year. 4 tackles a game, which was 2nd in the Prem. 2.5 interceptions a game, 2nd in the Prem. And that's comparing to centre-backs who usually would have more in those statistics. So insane breakdown. Kante version 2, basically. And probably arguably a better distributor than Kante. But I think someone... Well, not Kante now. Maybe Kante when he was at Leicester.
Yeah.
I think someone needs to hop on him. I think
for sure.
There's a few players that have outgrown Leicester, and it's just them being good blokes at the moment that's keeping them there.
Yeah, and he does seem like an amazing bloke, to be fair.
Yeah, and he's Nigerian.
I think he's completing a university degree in Leicester at the same time. So maybe he wants to finish that shit and then he'll help out of there.
I wonder if he's paying off the uni fees straight up or...
Mate, you can pay that shit over like 20.
Yeah,
in a week, mate.
I'll go to training tomorrow. You can have your fees, you dogs. And then finally, I've got Richarlison. Talked about him before. I think he should leave so Moyes can start. But all jokes aside, he's an absolute beast. Ever since he came in, he's killed it. Striker, but he's probably a winger by trade, but he just goes striker because he's a loose unit. 23 years old, 13 goals. Only expected to score 9 goals, so he's plucked a few out of his ass, which I don't mind. That's Lewandowski kind of antics there. And Everton were 11th in goals scored, so he's done pretty well there. He was involved in 36% of their goals. KDB was only involved in 32%, so not too shabby there, Richie Richardson. 6 man in the matches. I think that was the same as Adama Traore. So that had him in the top 5 for that. 2.2 tackles and interceptions a game, so really workhorse. I think he deserves another move. Everton look like they've gone backwards a little bit, so get out of there, brother.
Yeah, he's just a dog. Like, he's just a fighter. Like,
he legit.
If he wasn't playing footy,
that's the only thing I worry about Richarlison. I don't know who we were talking about before, but I don't know if he would be suited to a big club. Like, I think he's almost better just to dominate in a small team. But he does deserve to go somewhere.
He has like
even if it means he goes to Leicester. even if he goes to Leicester to replace Vardy, who's 60.
That would actually be a good move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Piss off, Aosi Perez, you dog.
Yeah.
Richie Richardson and Vardy up top, Madison in behind, and Didi out back. I don't mind it.
Out the
All
back
right,
door.
anyone else you want to mention for that one? Or just straight into the relegation battles?
Yeah, I think let's get
Alright.
into the relegated.
Which relegated players? We're almost about to crack the hour, but we'll still go through it. Which relegated players do you reckon?
I've gone with Buendia.
Yeah, that's the obvious one.
That's
That
the
is-
most. He's by far
If
the most.
he stays in Norwich, I
Obviously.
will rage.
And
I
I
will
think
honestly rage.
he was starting like he was on the bench half the time there. Like what the fuck was going on? With that?
Disgusting.
So I think he'd honestly be fine with getting the same amount of minutes at a big club, and he'd be better with better players around him because he can actually hold the ball. He averaged 2.3 key passes in a team that had 39.1% possession. So if you adjust that for possession, do some quick maths, which is my specialty. So it's up near 3 key passes a game, boys. And that is like elite level stuff. So
That is all time.
get him in the Reds, honestly.
Yeah.
If we didn't have Minamino already, I'd say get him in right now. But
Yeah.
maybe a team where you could, if Leicester had have got rid of Madison, I think he would have been good there. He could be good at a team like Everton, who can't create very, very many chances. But
Atletico Madrid.
yeah, if he wants to go abroad,
Because he's a workhorse as well.
Yeah.
2.9 tackles and interceptions. That's 21st in tackles, and he's like a right winger.
yeah,
Like, come
he's
on,
good in
lads.
transition. He can go past the player.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Atletico.
He had
would
more
do.
tackles and interceptions than Kovacic and John McGinn, who are centre defensive midfielders.
And
So,
everyone was raving about Kovacic this season.
yeah. Fourth in dribbles. Oh, ooh, get him in. Norwich only scored 26 goals as well, so all his stats, they're serious stuff. 23 as well. That's prime for the picking. But yeah, actually,
serious
Leon as well. Leon, have a dig at that great man. He will bring you
'Cause
back
I
to
think-
the highest heights.
Our looks like he's going to go this season. This season. So could be a good replacement in there as well.
Yeah, him and Depay just cutting shapes.
Cutting
The boys. Yeah, I don't know where else he could go. Maybe he could take like a leapfrog through Leverkusen or something. I don't know. But yeah, he needs to get it. If he plays championship, if we see Saeed Benrahma and Buendia in the championship, I might have to become a championship fan.
I'm losing it in that.
I might have to do it. It's better than the Prem.
Honestly.
Yeah. All right, next up, I probably won't spend too long on them because they did get relegated, so they're all Boris. But Diego Rico, 27-year-old left back, 4 assists, most assists for Bournemouth, most man of the matches for Bournemouth, highest rated player for Bournemouth, first in interceptions in the whole Premier League, 5.4 tackles and interceptions combined. So he did pretty well. Obviously, they were getting bombarded each game, but pretty handy footy. He can park himself, in like the Villarreal left back or something.
Yeah. Anyway,
It'll be a Spanish team. It's
so-
guaranteed. Next, another Spanishman from a relegated side, Gerard de La Feu. Once again, if he goes down to the championship, won't cop. Too talented for that. Doesn't deserve a big move or anything. He's a bit of a dog, but 26 years old, left winger or a striker, 9 goal involvements in 28 appearances, scored 25% was involved in 25% of Watford's goals, 3 men in the matches, 2.1 tackles and interceptions, which isn't bad, 11th in dribbles for the Premier League, 15th in key passes for the Premier League, so pretty handy on a relegated side. Someone should pick him up there. Maybe like a Sevilla. That might be a little bit too good. Actually, no. I was looking at their team the other day. It's Boris. Not sure how they've won the Europa. And then finally, to wrap us up, Philip Billing. Looked at his stats, absolutely woeful, but his rating was high. So, 24-year-old midfielder, built like a stick, actually. Very thin, very tall, though.
Do you reckon he's better than Lerma?
Ooh, probably not in terms of like skills, but he's probably more effective just because he's massive.
But
like,
always getting.
He's built for the championship. Billing is built for the championship.
Yeah, they actually both are, to be fair.
Yeah. But yeah, Billing was 13th in interceptions in the Premier League, 2.8 clearances, 3.3 aerials, which are both pretty handy stats. But yeah,
Stiff
we'll
on Wilson.
probably-
Stiff on Wilson from us, but
Yeah,
he had his chance. He can cop.
yeah.
Just
Also,
camp down there.
I was going to put Troy Deeney in, but like he's staying,
Nah,
so it's
fuck
a
no.
waste of
I
time.
hate Troy
And
Deeney.
he's
Honestly,
like 62, so
probably the worst footballer to watch, and he talks a lot of shit. So
yeah.
camp down there, mate.
Just someone by
Is
the
Mel
Pookie
Asad?
party.
No,
Oh,
no,
yeah,
he
yeah.
can stay down there. He's
Yeah,
really-
SAR's too talented for the championship, but like
Yeah, I think
statistically,
just the what he showed, even in that one game against Liverpool, I think teams would see that and be like, he's definitely got talent.
yeah.
Maybe he's not applying himself because he's amongst absolute shit.
Yeah, someone else probably too good for the championship. Etienne Capoue, I think he was pretty
He does
good.
work. He does work.
But yeah, he'll be staying, so I didn't bother putting him in either.
I don't see
yeah.
them bouncing straight back, honestly. Ben Rahman's going to tear them a new one.
So Ben Rama, if he stays in the championship,
But he's a better player. Maybe
he's the best player I've seen. He's
maybe
a
he just
chance at the
loves
Ballon
the
d'Or from the championship.
Oh my god. Maybe he just like loves Brentford.
Yeah.
He
Well,
just
let's be
loves-
real. He's making enough money. Why wouldn't you choose to bum dogs rather than get bummed?
Yeah.
Just stay in the championship. Brentford get promoted, he just gets a transfer back down.
Yeah.
Come on, boys.
He just tanks just to get them back down.
Yeah. Nah, he is too good. Hopefully, apparently he's heavily linked to Leeds, which would be very exciting. Leeds
Yeah.
already a beautiful team to watch. So if you stick in
No,
Ben Rama there.
I would cop.
Buendia, I think also that tends to be a trend, like the promoted teams buy players off the relegated teams.
Boys just helping out boys.
Yeah, exactly. Championship fodder. So Leeds could purchase Buendia. West Brom, don't get your hands on Buendia. Don't do it. You will tank him
Oh my
like you did with Dwight Gale, you dirty dogs. And yeah, that's probably it for this. We were going to talk about the championship. As you've seen, we talked enough about the Prem. So I'm sorry if you're a championship diehard and you've got to this point. I was actually warming to the championship this year. I listened to a podcast and both the guys are championship team supporters.
Yeah.
So I like kind of follow the scores, but because now that I go to bed a bit earlier on Saturday nights, championships often the only thing I can watch because that's on at like 11. So
Yeah.
sometimes I watch that if over a Prem game if it's like Watford versus Sheffield. But yeah,
Just to see some blokes get chopped.
yeah, pretty much because it's always just like one god on each team. It's a pisser. But yeah, really excited to see how this season goes. It only starts in like 2 weeks.
2
so
weeks.
We'll have
Oh
a
my
preview
God.
next episode.
Unreal.
Nah. But I think I don't know if it'll be the next episode or in 2 episodes' time because we are filming this in advance. We'll have this identical episode, but for for Italian and Spanish soccer. Maybe a few new categories if we want to revamp it. And then who knows, in 3 weeks when the season gets going, you might have a few previews thrown at you. So just stay tuned for that.
Predictions for the season.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to do something for that, especially for the Premier League.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm now looking forward to that. Looking forward to the start of the season, really. Thanks for joining me, as always, Redos.
No worries, bro.
And thanks for listening. Well done if you've got to hear. You're a trooper.
Yeah. Go
See
get
ya.
yourself a beverage. See ya.
Go get yourself a beverage.